So let's move to the conduct of business. Item A, I'll read it again. Adopt resolution enacting garbage rate increase proposed by Recology, Dan Bruno for 2021-22, and scheduling property owner notice and protest process as required by Proposition 218. City Manager.
Good morning. My name is Chen Yu Sun. I'm the Finance Director for the City of San Bruno. Today I will do the presentation regarding garbage rate adjustments for fiscal year 21-22. The objective of this presentation is to receive an overview of the Recology rate application for fiscal year 21-22. And also, we would hope the council would adopt a resolution initiating property owner notice and protest process following Proposition 218. The agenda of today's presentation will cover a review of the franchise agreement between Recology and the city, and it will look at their rate adjustment application for fiscal year 21-22. We also provide a sample of a residential and a commercial total rate change for the next fiscal year. We will compare the proposed increase rate with a neighboring city in San Mateo County, and also we'll provide a review of the historical rate increase comparisons. We will provide a timeline regarding the protest period to implement a new rate. There is also an alternative timeline with a delayed rate increase. We'll also give the council a preview of the public notice and then provide some options for the council decision making and then staff recommendation. And at last, we'll also questions the councils may have. The franchise agreement between the City of San Bruno and Recology is effective between July 1 to 1998 to June 30, 2024. It's regarding the solid waste collection service, and then the franchise agreement provides provisions for billing, record keeping, and billing fees, etc. The fiscal year 21-22 rate adjustment is an interim year rate increase. It's purely based on the CPI factor, and this Recology rate adjustment application has been reviewed and verified by the city staff. Every 3 years, there will be a detailed year rate increase. That increase will be reviewed by independent consultant. That's going to happen in the fiscal year after actually going to happen in the fiscal year 22-23. Due to the complexity of the integrated waste management services, staff recommend the council to hold a study session during the Q4 of calendar 2021, and then provide some guidance on the future of the waste management service.
Can you 1 second? I'm hearing that the presentation is still on the agenda slide. Is that correct?
You are correct.
Okay. So let's
Share.
retry this.
Slide number 5.
Can you see the full screen now?
It's not in presentation mode.
Javon, let me know if you would like me to pull it up.
How about now?
No.
All right, Melissa, we're having some issue. Will you pull it up?
Yes. I believe you were on this slide.
Yeah, can you go to the next slide?
There we
Thank
go.
you. So the proposed rate adjustment for 2021-22 is to increase rate by 1.87%. This rate will take effect in the next fiscal year if approved by the City Council. The rate change factor is only based on the CPI calculation. Next slide, please. This provides a sample view of some residential and commercial garbage total rate change for the next fiscal year. So the most common total used by the residential customers are the 32-gallon toter. With this rate increase, we're looking at a 60 cents increase per month in the next fiscal year. Next slide, please. Staff compared the proposed rate with neighboring cities in San Mateo County. As you can see, the proposed new rate still ranked the seventh lowest rate in the list. We are actually comparing the proposed rate with the current rate adopted by the neighboring cities. So those rates are subject to increase in the upcoming fiscal year. Next slide, please. This is a look at a historic increase for the garbage rate increase during the last few years since the fiscal year 2008 and early 09. The lighter color bars indicated increase interim year. Historically, the average interim year increase was about 2.23%. The newly proposed increase of 1.87% is below the average. Next slide, please. Normally, garbage rate increase takes effect on July the 1st. And should the council go that route, this will be the timeline we will implement a new rate increase. So notice for rate increase will be mailed out on April the 9th, so that we can comply with the 45-day period required by Proposition 218. And then council would have to hold a public hearing on May the 25th, and then adopt the rate increase on June 8th, so that we can have the rate take effect on July 1st. Next slide, please. So in January 2021, the council directed city manager to request Recology to cancel fee increase in light of the impact of COVID-19. In response, Recology proposed to postpone the rate increase to September 1st. In addition, they also informed the city manager that they would initiate an abandoned waste program in July this year. This program will survey known problem areas daily and collect waste when discovered, and monitor all other areas when drivers are on regularly scheduled routes. With city's permission, Recology would obtain access to San Bruno Response app and service reported items within 24 hours. Recology will run this program in a 2-month pilot operation, and after that 2 months, they will determine whether this pilot operation has been effective or whether additional staff will be added to the program. Next slide, please. So if a council agrees to Recology proposal, this is a look at a alternative timeline with a delayed rate increase taking effect on September the 1st. Based on the schedule, we believe we would have to send out the notice to customers on June 25th, and public hearing will be held on August the 10th, and August 24th, the council will decide to conduct a second hearing and take action to adopt new rates so that the rate will become effective on September 1st. Next slide, please. This is a look of the public notice with the rate taking effect on September 1st. As always, the notice will contain information regarding public hearing schedule, protest period, approval process, rate adjustments, and a proposed increase for garbage, recycling, and organics container types. Next slide, please. So staff believes council have several options in making the garbage rate increase. First option would be enact the rate increase on July 1st, 2021, or council can accept Recology proposal to postpone the rate increase to be effective on September 1st. Or council can direct the proposed rate increase to be amended using other factors at your discretion, or council can choose not to proceed with the process to adopt a new rates. I want to warn that the last two options is subject to Recology's acceptance. If Recology does not accept those two options, we may be looking at avoid of a service for the residents of the city. So next slide, please. Here's the staff's recommendation. Staff recommended council to enact the garbage rate increase to be as proposed by Recology, and the proposed rate increase to be effective on September 1st, and adopt a resolution initiating property owner notice and protest process as required by Proposition 218 for fiscal year 21-22. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. If there's anybody from the public that is with us this morning and wishes to speak, if you could raise your virtual hand and we'll call on you instantaneously when I see it. But for right now, I'll turn it to the colleagues. Councilmember Mason.
I just wanted to thank staff for bringing this letter to Recology. I do just want to express that I have some disappointment in some of the answers that were received by Recology for the amount of, I think, questions and community benefits or community, I guess, givebacks that were part of the contract. I was a little concerned first that we only went back 18 months in a 24-year contract, where in one entire year there was a California order to shelter in place. So I know that the garbage kept going, essential workers, very important, and very thankful for their work to keep our streets clean. But I also think that the time frame really should have been longer to have a better idea of what was going on. So with that said, we have what's in front of us. And I just really want to point out a couple of things. The first one is around the backyard composting. This is section 4.4. There was a response around the technical advice and management assistance to city staff around developing and implementing a backyard composting program. And the response to that was really that the San Mateo County office is handling it. So it goes on to say that Recology rolled out an organics program, and at the request of city staff, Recology has also held composting classes, but there's no list of when those classes happen. There's no flyers. There's nothing to say how often this happened. And, you know, again, with a 24-year contract, how can we really get a clear picture of what staff has asked for? And it's really putting the burden on the city staff. So unless you have city staff that has continuously followed the contract, which I would imagine there's rotating staff, then staff may not know that the trigger or the burden was on staff to make that request. Around the community education, the Recology employing the recycling coordinator, 50% of their time is to be allowed to the city. We just are on such a shoestring budget right now. We have been hearing left and right from every department how they need help. And based on what the response was, it's unclear that 50% of one individual's full-time job is being allocated to the city of San Bruno. So I'm hoping my colleagues will support the request of the city manager to engage in conversations with Recology around how we can best utilize 20 hours a week. We know that Cleaning San Bruno has really taken a lot of effort and mobilization. There's a committee around Cleaning San Bruno. There are a number of residents now writing Caltran, BART. There's a lot to be done, and if we want to focus on zero waste, great, but I just want to make sure that we're utilizing what's in the contract, which is 20 hours a week. The next one is around the grants. There's a report around the grants and what was applied to. So I'm glad to see that there was a grant that was recently applied to. But again, I think we need to figure out, is the holdup that the city does the city know? Is the city the trigger? Is the city the one that has to request the help? It's not very clear, and it feels like that's the response that Recology put out there, that, we're willing, we've helped this time in the last couple of months. It's very unclear, though, if this is going to be ongoing. And since we have this person that apparently, is 50% of their time maybe to do zero waste type grants, we can utilize that staff person's time. The community relations and youth, I think this might be the last one. No, there's two more. This is around the pandemic. Recology's usual community and youth outreach efforts that have been put on hold was Recology's answer. I don't know, I was just kind of curious, what is this Touch a Truck event? And then the Warm Coach Drive, is that for the city? Is that specific to the schools? It's just not really clear. And in none of these responses, by the way, there's no flyers, there's no dates, there's no attendance records, it's just incredible, very, very broad for a request to make sure that you're in compliance with the contract. And then the last one I just want to focus on is around the class. There's two parts to it, which is the classroom educational program regarding recycling. And then the second part is the Cash for Class recycling fundraiser. I have talked to a couple of people, and nobody seems to know about this Cash for Class fundraiser that's supposed to be an annual event for the last 24 years. So I'm kind of saddened to hear that our schools that are so limited in funds right now, where teachers are paying out of pocket for supplies like pencils, are not getting the benefit of our agreement with Recology. So it is clear that there's some kind of educational programming going on, so I'm thankful to see that. But I do just want to reiterate that the second part of that is the annual fundraiser. So again, with consensus from my colleagues, I'd really like to encourage the city manager to get together with the superintendent of the San Bruno Park School District and Recology to determine what kind of fundraiser could be provided in this next year that could comply with that part of the agreement. And then other than that, I appreciate all the contributions to the various San Bruno-based organizations, and just want to figure out whether that is in compliance with the contract. That can be answered to me at a later time, because we're already here and I don't know if that's going to be answered, but there are other organizations that are mentioned in the answer, and I don't know if that would necessarily comply with the city's agreement, because I don't see that in the city's as part of the city agreement. Even though I'm thankful for Recology's commitment to San Bruno. And so I think that's it. I'm pleased to see that the city and Recology are looking to add this additional abandoned waste collection program. I think that's a great move forward. It just makes me sad that it feels like we've really kind of lost out on some of these opportunities in the past. I did just want to ask one question, and I'm not sure if it would be to Recology or to the city manager, but I've gotten a couple of requests around the apartments, and I'm not really clear how they work. So for not large apartment buildings, but I'm guessing these 20 units and less apartments, my understanding is that they each get a garbage, a recycling, compost, but they don't each get the 2 times a year pickup. And I'm just hoping somebody can provide some clarification on that.
Okay. Do we want to see if there's other questions from colleagues, and then maybe we take them all at once? That will help. No? Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm a little slow.
No worries. No worries. Vice Mayor.
Morning. Yeah, I was able to look at the response from Recology. I don't know if staff has been able to provide a response to their letter. So I think it's probably appropriate to hear from the city manager. Councilmember Mason has brought up a number of points. And do we need to deal with that tonight, or that's something that the city manager could spend some more time on and get some whether or not the city manager feels that the responses are appropriate. So just kind of wanted to see where staff is coming from with that response, because we don't know what it is currently.
Well, and some of it could be clever, like the touch a truck. No, they couldn't do it during COVID, but I've been to that program. So I know, I personally know the coach for kids. Because of COVID, they had to modify it, but they've done it. But anyway, city manager?
Sure. Hi again, Javon Grogan, city manager. Let me begin on the balcony and then step down a little bit. It's important to note that what the action before the city council is. This is not a detailed rate review year. This is a CPI adjustment year, what in the contract is called a interim year. It provides the contractor, Recology, with the ability to increase rates based on a CPI and a process. And what you have articulated in the staff report is Recology has made that request. The city has analyzed that request and found that their request for a CPI increase is valid and in compliance with the contract. And so the city is bound by the terms of that contract to either one, say yes, or suggest modifications that Recology would then have to agree with. And so what the city staff's analysis has said is that the request from Recology complies with the terms of the contract. And in addition, in the letter, we asked a number of contract compliance questions. Those are questions because the staff handling this, our finance director, is new. I only have, in just a month or two, 3 years with the city. And as Councilmember Mason mentioned, this contract has been with the city for approximately 24 years. I know the contract initially went into effect or was signed in 1998. So I haven't done the total math, but I think that to me sounds like an odd number, not an even number, but I actually have not done the math. It will expire in 2024. Based on the last extension. And so I will also say that while I understand council members are expressing not full satisfaction or potentially dissatisfaction with the answers that Recology provided, the city has no information, nor has the city said that Recology is not in compliance with the contract. In addition, I think what the history shows us is there have been a number of conversations between the city and Recology to add services, for example. One of them was mentioned by Councilmember Mason, and the question sort of what happens with apartment bulky pickups. So based on the contract, most apartments actually do not receive bulky pickups. However, I've learned, and Recology has clarified, and I've talked to staff, that several years ago, Recology did work with the city and agreed to start taking bulky pickups from people that live in apartments that call them, primarily for the realization that if someone is calling to utilize a bulky pickup for a mattress, if Recology says no, unfortunately, it's only single family homes, that mattress may end up on the street. And so there was a conversation to say, hey, let's add this. Now, unfortunately, that conversation and that reality, which is today that if someone lives in an apartment and calls Recology to pick up for a bulky pickup, Recology responds to that. We know that happens. We know that's been happening for several years. That was not codified in a contract amendment, unfortunately. And so I think the effort to go through a fine-tooth comb on what services were added or modified based on agreements is a long and involved one. But that was not this year. And I think the council should be very clear on what's before you and what the contract says vis-a-vis a CPI increase. And so With that, what I would say is Recology has submitted an alternative that staff is recommending, which pushes, based on the council's request, to cancel the rate. Recology has offered to push the rate increase out to September 1st, and also offered to begin a pilot program for an abandoned waste pickup program, and that was articulated in the PowerPoint at this late hour. I won't go over that. And so that's really what's before the council tonight. Do we want to act on Recology's initial request, which is for July 1? Do we want to say yes to the alternative, or is there something else that council would like to direct staff? I know that this is a late hour, but it is extremely important, because if we are to begin with Recology's initial request as per the contract, which we have a duty to respond to, in order to have that 218 process done and effectuated for July 1, we really need to begin immediately. I'll stop and turn it back over to council.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Well, I think the vice mayor was going to finish up, because that was part of the question.
Oh.
I'll let the vice mayor.
I apologize, Vice Mayor. I thought you were done, and I wanted to make sure everybody got at least a chance.
No, that's fine. It's early in the morning. No, thank you, City Manager, for clarifying that. I was just trying to figure out, and you answered it, where we're at. The questions that were posed by Councilmember Mason, those should get answers, but those aren't particularly relevant to what we're doing right now at this time. That could be done at a later time, and there will be some follow-up to that. Is that what I heard, basically, City Manager?
So I will continue to have conversations with Recology on their contract compliance questions. Next year is a detailed rate compliance year. And so that is when we take a detailed look at the rates and other sections of the contract. I think Councilmember Mason has asked some questions about the recycling employee that is dedicated 50% to San Bruno. Absolutely, I have and will continue to have conversations with Recology. I think Councilmember Mason has mentioned additional support for the schools. We're certainly constantly partnering and talking to the superintendent of schools, and we'll have those conversations about what additional support Recology can provide to the schools.
Okay, thank you. I think it's Hamilton's turn.
Mr. Hamilton.
So, looking at what's before us, which is the options for the CPI increase request. While I would have preferred the amount to be zero, we did ask, and I'm glad that we did, because ask and you shall receive, and we got the offer to postpone the increase until September, and then also, which was a welcome surprise, the offer to pilot the abandoned waste program. I think that's huge. I think that's huge for us in San Bruno at this time, given the challenges that we have. So I would be supportive of that option for taking action tonight. I also think, though, that Councilmember Mason's concerns are all valid, and I would not want us to wait until next year to do a detailed review of, just to make sure that the contract is in compliance. That's something that should be an ongoing procedure in my view. And if everything is in compliance, then great. Then now we know. But if there's not, and if there are services that we should have been getting all this time, waiting another year without those services is just hurting us more. So for tonight, I recommend accepting the proposal to postpone the rate increase and to be effective on September 1st. And and accept the gracious offer of the abandoned waste program, but then also to direct a review of contract compliance.
That was a motion. I'll second it.
I didn't say the word motion, but okay, I didn't know.
Will that work? Are you making a motion, Mr. Hamilton?
I can turn that into a motion.
Okay, the motion made and seconded. There's nothing else. I'm going to ask for a roll call, please.
I have to clarify, was there an amendment to the recommended motion? If so, can we get it read into the record?
Or we can do it as two. We can do it. Why don't we do it as two? Why don't I make a motion? My first motion would be to accept the staff recommendation to enact the garbage rate increase as proposed, and adopt a resolution initiating the property owner notice and protest process under Proposition 218. Knowing that also includes the abandoned waste pilot program to begin in July.
Got it.
That's the motion.
Mr. Salazar, I saw your head. Is that a second?
Yes.
Okay.
I reaffirm my second of that motion.
Thanks, Al, for the clarification. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Aye.
Councilmember Mason.
No.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Marty Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Rico Medina.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So the second thing was, and correct me, is that City Manager, you are and have been and are continuing and will be working for clarity to those items as outlined by any of the council members and within the questions of the contract, singular, sorry, it's late.
So let me be crystal clear. The city has no knowledge that Recology is not in compliance with the contract. The question has been asked, for example, how Recology has helped us apply for grants. Whether they have or they haven't, right? The question was, well, is it up to the city to raise their hand? What you're asking for could be a full contract compliance on Recology. I would ask for additional parameters on that because we asked for what I believe is a reasonable look back in 18 months since the last time we've done a detailed review. Again, the next detailed review is next year. What I heard from Councilmember Mason is that's not sufficient because it involves a significant amount of time, if not all, or the vast majority was during COVID-19. Is the council asking for a detailed review of the compliance of this contract over the 23 years? Are you asking if the city has any knowledge that Recology is not meeting the terms? Because the answer to that is no. We have no knowledge that Recology is not in compliance with the contract. In addition, what we do know is there have been conversations over the years where Recology has transitioned services and added things. Now, I do not know, I was not here, if it was, okay, well, we're not going to do this, but we're going to do that. If we are to reconstruct all of that, you're asking for a significant endeavor that I would ask for an allocation of resources so we can have somebody come in and do that work. But again, this is also a contract where we have a detailed rate year next year, and it expires in 2024. And in 2021, we will be bringing you a option and a discussion around how we proceed forward with the pending expiration of this contract in 2024. I will also point out to council that the contract compliance questions that were in the letter were placed there because of questions that were asked last year and questions that staff in reading the contract wanted an answer to. I have no problem as their city manager to work with Recology and ensure that I get a satisfactory answer to those questions. But if your question is, we think that there are issues with the contract we are requesting a detailed review of if Recology is in compliance with the contract. That I want to make sure that that's the question that council is asking. And I want you to understand what that means, because it essentially means reconstructing what's happened over a long period of time. And I don't know where we come out with that, and I can't tell you right now what resources that takes. And so I don't want us to sort of jump into this, oh, there's an issue with non-compliance, when I don't think that, as your city manager, I don't think that we have evidence to conclude that. Thank you.
Okay. I know it's late, but I do appreciate you asking for the clarity and being concise, because we have to, make sure we're all on the same page. Councilmember Mason, you have your hand up.
So just for clarity, the two areas that I asked for, again, I do know 24 years is a long time, so I narrowed down the request for consensus, which was the use of the staff time at 20 hours a week. And the second one was the fundraiser for the schools, because I know that they're in need always. but I think that if we could get those two figured out right away, that would be ideal.
And let me say, no problem with doing that. Those are questions that we ask, and I will absolutely follow up. I intend to follow up on those questions.
Okay. Okay. I see enough nods, thumbs, and others. Okay. So with that, I'm going to consider, city manager, you stop me, or the finance director, that topic is done for the conduct of business.